Hi, I'm Donald Davidson. I'm the historian for the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, and this is part of the series called Stories with Donald. Pat Vidan, I think, became the assistant starter in about 1960, and then during the winter of 61-62, Bill Vanderwater became ill, and he flagged Foyt's first win in 61, but that was the last time that people would see Bill Vanderwater because he passed away, I think it was early 62, but it was during that winter. And then Pat Vidan then became the flagman from 1962 until 1979. And he was very much the showman. He wore a bright white dinner jacket and black slacks. And Pat Vidan was a very interesting fellow because he played several instruments. He was a lightning cartoonist and very much the health nut. I don't know what, I mean, he had enormous arms, wonderful physique. I don't know what he could press, but it was a lot. And he had a health studio for a number of years. In fact, on Main Street Speedway, a number of people would go there. Bruce Springsteen actually was in there once when he was downtown doing a concert, and during the day he had come out to work out at Pat Vidan's. Anyway, a number of drivers would work out there, and I don't think he charged the drivers any. And he also was, I said it was a cartoonist, but an artist, and he actually did lettering. There are several cars, several helmets that appeared in the 500 where the lettering was done by Pat Vidan. Anyway, as a flagman, he really enjoyed doing this sort of very graceful, acrobatic flag twirling routine, and he liked to flag from the track, as did Bill Vanderwater, and then just go out whenever, if it was a checkered flag at the end of a qualifying run or whatever it is, he would go out, and as he was twirling the flags, would go down on one knee. Well, Harlan Fengler was the chief steward, and he thought, probably rightly so, that it was not really a good idea, it was not safe to be flagging from the track. And so by, I don't know if they had it in 63, but by 64, there was a little platform, a wooden platform that couldn't have been any more than 6 inches high, was placed on the grass verge next to the wall, and that's where he required that Pat flag. I think they had it in 62. When Roger Ward came down to win the race, Pat went out onto the track and flagged from the track surface, and I think that might have been the last time they had that. Well, anyway, in 1974, there was a changing of the guard, and Tom Binford became the new chief steward to replace Harlan Fengler, whose final year was 73. And one of the things that Tom Binford had requested was a flag stand and a judge's booth on the other side of the track up high, because Fengler would officiate from track side, but he was very vulnerable to any passionate crew chief who didn't agree with one of the decisions, could just run across the pit lane to the grass verge and be in the face of Harlan Fengler. And Tom Binford had thought, well, I don't think I want that. And so they put up this structure on the outside of the track up high. And the judges sat behind smoked windows, and just below them there was a cage where Pat Vidan was to flag the race. Well, Pat wasn't very happy about that, I can tell you that, because it greatly curtailed his ability to put on a show. And so I just know he wasn't very happy about that, but he did it through 1979. And then in 1980, it was Dwayne Sweeney. I mean, there was a number of times when whoever flagged the 500, that was the only race that they did. and there would be other people. So Dwayne Sweeney had done a lot of USAC stock car and championship races. So he took over in '80, and I think he went up through '95 or '96. It was about the time that the IRL came in, and he stepped to one side. And then there's been a few. There was Brian Howard, and then Paul Blevin, and I think they were both here at the same time. And then, however, they would decide who was going to do it. I think there might have been a couple of years when they would alternate. And then, of course, there's been a number of celebrity flagmen who just did the start and then climbed down the ladder and then, you know, went to the suites. But it's still very much of a part of it. I remember, you know, decades ago, people said, well, we don't even need flagmen, it's a show, and, you know, we could do it with lights, but it's more to it than whether is it green or yellow. And I enjoyed watching flagmen that are doing several things. Like there's what they call the move over flag, which is actually a courtesy flag, and the way that they would carry one behind them, and they would sort of have the green, which they would hold steady, and then they would, if they saw cars coming down the straightaway where somebody was trying to lap a slower car, they would just flop the move over flag. And then the way that they would line them up in the starter stand, people said, what's the correct order of the flags? Well, I don't know that there is one, but flagman's choice is normally the green and the yellow. They would probably hold it both at the same time, or work out something where if they've got the green, the yellow's the first one they can grab, and they've got the diagonal stripes or the move over flag, which they can just flop. And they know that they're not going to need the white flag until one lap to go, and then the checker. And so I think the next one after the next one they could grab would be the black flag, which they hope they don't have to use, but that's to one individual that is required to come in for a rule infraction or maybe a safety reason. And then the one they hope they don't have to use at all is the red flag, and I think that's the one that's last.